So it's 4 o'clock on February 16th, 2016. I was just up here about a half an hour ago with Mark DeGrigley. And these ponds were filling, but they weren't overflowing, and now they're overflowing. It's still covered in snow here, but you can see the amount of water that's coming both off that pond into this pond, and then, you know, to make it undoubtable where this water is coming from, I'll put the leaf there. You'll see which way it's flowing. It's not flowing back toward the pond, it's flowing down toward the drain. And this is when we just got a bunch of fairly considerable rain over the last hour or so. But it's coming down at quite a rate now, and this is just going to keep coming until all this water stops, or the rain stops, lets up at least. So this is the amount of water that's coming down into this pond, and that water is going across the street now. That much water you can see coming off of both from the right side of the driveway, coming underneath that pipe there, and then the left side of the driveway, which you can see straight in front of you. It's flowing pretty good now, and all this water is now coming across the street. So I'm going to go across the street in just a minute. I was just over there with Mark half an hour ago. There was no water going to where the spring was. The drain immediately across the street was filling up, but there was no water beyond where the road was. It was only only really filled in the culvert that was dug. So I'll show you that where it was before, and then what it's looking like now. But it's a considerable difference in the last half an hour. Is now coming quite considerably from the drain down through here, and then half an hour ago you didn't see this coming at all, but I'm going to show you quite clearly why this is problematic now. I think you get a good idea of the amount of water now. When we go to the other side of this, you can see there's a little bit of flow. There is a little bit actually coming from the Holly house today, but that was what was filling up previously. This is taking a look back at the pond now that it's coming down through the culvert again. Like I mentioned, there is a little bit coming from the Holly house, but if you compare what's coming from each side, you can notice there is quite a considerable difference. And the part coming from the Holly house and maybe the road a little bit wasn't enough to fill the pond across the street. So I'll move across the street and give you a sense of what that looks like now. Here, this is across the street now. That culvert's full to the point where it's about 2 inches from the top, and about a half an hour ago. I'm sure you can follow Mark's pictures on it too. It was close to being this full. It was probably a few inches shallower, but the telling part is the amount of water coming off of it now. You can see it here, and this is the difference between what it was half an hour ago when he was here and what it is now. This road had a little bit of water in it. Nothing was coming over the road. Yeah, you can see the depth of it, but this was put in to help block some of the water, retain it a little bit, and then slow the flow of it, and just so we could use it as an access again. But this is coming out on both sides. And now you get a really good sense, because when we were just here half an hour ago and that pond wasn't filled up yet, there wasn't any water coming to here. Now there clearly is, and you can see water where there was a spring. Even before half an hour ago, there wasn't any water even from the spring. I don't know if it was frozen up, or you just couldn't tell there was any water coming from it. But you get a sense of it now. I mean, it's pretty clear that once the ponds fill, it don't hold water for 24 hours, and I don't know if you could consider this a 2-year storm by any stretch of the imagination. It rained hard for about an hour or so, maybe a little longer, but and then it was on and off through the morning. But this is this is what's going to happen, and this is right when it first started, so it's going to get probably worse from here for the next hour or so. Here's a good shot of it now. All that water that I showed before that was going into those two ponds, once they fill, that water just continues right onto the drain and then comes across the street. So going right over the road and down into the brook where that spring is. It's about 4:33 now. Now the culvert's full. Can't even see the culvert. This is the water coming down, going to the road. It's come up. The water level's come up considerably now in the last 20 minutes or so. But since I first started taking pictures here, film at about 4 o'clock, you can see it's just this is ridiculous. I wish Mark was here an hour later when he actually can see the water coming across the street from the freaking development and then down here into the, oh boy, and you can see all the eroded water. The further down I get, the clearer it is that it's eroding it, and the water's all muddy. So you go down to the pond, and the pond's going to be retaining all this silt that's getting eroded as every time this happens. So it's about 4:36, 4:37 now. Now you can see the water's, it's actually pushed all the snow off of this, and it's making its way down into the drain. But started about, I'd say about 4 o'clock or so, maybe a little before. I got up here about 4, but you can see it's pretty clear. The water's still coming off of both the drains pretty heavy, and it's not holding this water back by any means. It's melted most of the ice and snow at this point, and I got a good flow. This is actually, no, it's probably worse than it was 15-20 minutes ago, but you can see where the water's coming from for sure. February 16th, 2016, it's about 5:40, just coming back up to see what it's like. Still running over quite a bit from the pond into the drainage.